Hey there, welcome back. This is Code with SDM, and in today's video I'll be sharing with you about how you can manage your user roles and permissions in your FilamentPHP application. And in this video I'll be more detailed and I'll try to explain everything as much as I can so that you guys can be able to understand on how you can do this in your FilamentPHP, and I'm pretty sure this will be helpful. So let's go direct to when you are here on FilamentPHP, you have this option for plugins. So when you visit this one, there is this plugin which is called Shield, which has been created by Bezan Saleh, and it is actually popular plugin. So I'll be using this one to demonstrate on how you can manage your roles and permissions to your FilamentPHP application. So as you can see, this is Shield, which is a plugin that we are going to use. In its foundation, it is built on top of Splash, which is Laravel permission plugin. Okay, so by saying so, let's go directly to the Laravel hub and let's create a new application, which will be a new Laravel application. And then on it, we are going to add filament, and then we are going to add that plugin. So let's start by creating the project right here. So I'll just create an application without any starter kit, and then I'll call it filament role permission. So I'll wait for this one to be done. So let's give it a time. Alright, so as you can see, the application was created successful. So let me close that one, and then let me run this application and let's see how it looks like. Okay, so now you can see this is how our application looks like. You can see the path is, or the application URL is filament role permission.test. Okay, so now let's go here and open our application in our text editor. So let me just go to here and I'll just open it in my text IDE text editor, which is Cursor. So let's open it. Right, so this is Cursor IDE, and as you can see, this is a newly created application, and as you can see, it has been created successfully. So let me close this chat option. Okay, so this is a Laravel 12 application. You can see from here we are running it with this application, as you can see. Okay, so now what I want to do next is to add the FilamentPHP in our application. So let's go to the documentation, and then we are going to install this filament by requiring it from here. So let's go to the terminal. And then I'll paste my command right here, which is filament version 3.3, and then I would say enter. So this will require all the files from the filament repository online, and then it will install it in your local application, which is this one. So let's give it a time. Right, so now we can see this has been done. So let's go back here to the documentation, and then let's copy this command for installing the panels. So let's run it there, and here you can see it will ask us for what ID you are going to install the panels. So by default it will be admin because we don't have any other ID in our application, so let's keep it that way. Okay, so you can see this is done, so I'll just say no. Okay, so now our application has FilamentPHP installed. So now if we go back to the application right here, and then if we navigate to /admin, you can see we have this authentication, and by using Filament, this is how we are supposed to create our user in our application. So we can just do that one to see if the application is working fine. So we can just say php @make filament user. So let's give it a name like super admin. I just say super admin @example.com and password. Alright, so now if we go here and try to log in by using the super admin @example with our password, actually it will direct us to the dashboard of our FilamentPHP application. Okay, so if for some reasons it will be shown like not styled well, just refresh it, because the styles will be generated. So you can just refresh your application and it will be shown like this way. Okay, so as you can see, this is how our FilamentPHP application is up and running, and the authentication is working just fine. So you can see we can be able to change the themes like that way, and also we can be able to sign out. Okay, so now let's go and start to install the Shield plugin. So let's go to the documentation, which is this one, and this link I'll share with you guys. So you can see this is the documentation. So there's here you can see the features that are included in this plugin. So complete authorization management for resources, pages, widgets, and custom permissions. You can just add them. It also supports multi-tenants, and it's easy to set up and do configurations. It has best UI, policy generation, which is automatic and you can do it manually, and it also supported the translations. So those are the key features that we have, and these are the best requirements that you need to have before using this requirement. I mean, before using this plugin. Okay, and if you are using Filament 2 point something, which is below Filament 3, just use this branch. So you can just use this link right here, and it will direct you to the correct branch to use. Right, so now let's copy this command for installation part. So let's go to the terminal, let's clear it, then let's paste that command. So this will install the Filament Shield plugin. So let's give it a time. Right, so you can see this has been done. So let's clear our terminal again. Now let's go back to the documentation, and here is how you can publish the configuration file for your new plugin. So let's just copy that one and then paste it to here. So this will create a configuration file. So if you navigate to the config directory, there is this new directory, file, which is filament shield.php. So if you open it, you can see it has these configurations variables that you can do. So these are the permission prefixes that you have by default. You can see the page widgets, and you can see this is how it works. The generator for generating the policies and permissions. Okay, so here you can be able to exclude some of the pages or some of the widgets or anything, because you can see here on pages it just excluded the dashboard, so dashboard will not be included in any of the shield configurations. Okay, and you can see here the discovery of all of this has been set to false, and this one register all policy, it is enabled to true. So these are just some of the configurations that you can have, and you can be able to change anything that you want. So for me, I'll just use the default configurations. So now let's go back to the documentation, and here you can see the auth provider model. You can change it to any model if you are using a custom model for that, but for us we are just using the user model. So you can see here the user model is the one that is being used right there. Okay, now the next thing is to add the has role trait in your auth provider model, which is our user model for our case. So let's go and add this one to our user model. So let's go back to the user model. Let me just zoom a little bit so that you guys can see what I'm doing. Okay, let's zoom it right there. Okay, now in our user model here we need to add the trait, which is called the as rows, which is coming from Splash. So let's import that one. And if you have not been able to add it successful, just add something like this here, and that will be what you are supposed to do. So as you can see, you are supposed to import that trait. Okay, so now the next step, which is step number 3, is to set up the shield. So to set up shield without tenants, because our application does not have multi-tenants, so we are going to use this option. And if you have multi-tenancy enabled in your FilamentPHP application, you can just use this one. And here you are supposed to specify the model that you are using it as the tenants model. Okay, so let's just use this command. So copy it, and then let's go to the terminal. Let me close that one and clear the terminal, and then paste our command, which is php shield setup. Okay, and as you can see, this command will perform the following operations. It will publish core package configuration, publishes core package migrations. So there is migration that will be created, the migrations for creating the tables for rows and permissions. And then here it says, do you wish to perform those configurations or those commands? So let's say yes, and then it will do the mentioned operations. So let's wait for that. Okay, and you can see it has been doing those, and it has run the migration to create the permission table. And here it asks you if you can star the repo. So I've already done that, so I'll just say no. Okay, so now let's clear the terminal again, and let me close this one, and let's go back to the documentation. So the step number 3 is done. Let's go to step number 4. So step number 4 is to install for the panel. So you need to install the plugin for the panel that you are targeting, because in FilamentPHP you can have multiple panels, and I will show you in my next videos on how you can have multiple panels in your FilamentPHP application. So for example, for now, if you remember, we have the panel ID of admin because that is what we have until now. So if you go to the providers, filament, then the admin panel, you can see here we have this ID of admin. So let's just copy that command right here, and we are going to run it as it is because the ID is the same. So let's go here and run the command. Okay, so you can see it has generated some of the policies. Okay, so that is done, and then the next step, because you can use this way, but unfortunately for me it has not worked well. As you can see here, it shows that there is an error. So let me just show you. If you scroll down here, you can see there is this space that has been created. So for me, I will not prefer to use that command, so I'll just return back to this. So I've just do a Ctrl-Z to remove those added code that is not well structured. So the alternative is to use this way. So let's just copy it, and then here, before the termination, we can add the plugin right here. So this is how it will look like, okay, when you add it to your admin panel provider. Okay, so by adding that, now we can go back here and continue. So with tenants, you need to use this command and make sure you generate the relationships and the tenant, and or alternatively you can use this to add it in your admin panel. Okay, and then after that, the usage here, you can be able to change anything if you want. So for now, the next thing that I want to show you is how you are going to use your package. Okay, so I want to go to the command right here. Yeah, right here. Okay, so here, when if you have been following me, you can see we have already do the setup. We have installed the panel, and now what we are supposed to do next is to generate the permission and the policies for the other resources or pages that we are going to create. So before doing this, let's go and add some resources. So let's create some resources. So for example, I'll just create a new model. For example, I'll create a new model. Let's say PHP at some make model. Then I'll call it post, and I'll create with its migration. So let me just go back here. And as you can see, this is our new model that has been created, and we have the migration file, which is this one. So I'll just create these fields. So you can see we have the title, content, and user ID. So we can know which user has created which post. Okay, and then here there is another migration that was created by the plugin, which is this one, which is called the permission tables. So now if you open it, you can see it contains several tables. So you can see these are the tables that we are going to be created. So to show you those tables, let's go to the adminer, and then we can see our database, how it looks like now. Okay, so now you can see here in your database, you have these default tables, but here you can see there's tables like model has permission, model has role, we have role has permission, and we have permissions and rows. So these are just the new tables that we are created by using this migration. So this migration, it is what that it is doing. So you can see it create the pivot tables and something like that. Okay, so now let's go back here. Okay, so now you can see if the admin will log into the application, they will be able to access this new created navigation group, which is called the Filament Shield, and inside it you can see we have this link, which is rows, and you can see we have 0 number of rows. So when the admin will log into the application, they can be able to create the rows. So for example, we can be able to create a new role, which is called this admin. So here we can just say super admin, and here you can see the admin will be able to manage the roles of application. So let's give him select. Here you can see you can be able to select each of these separately, but you can just separate all of them by using the select all and then create. Okay, so you can see this role has been created, so you can be able to create as many roles as you can, but now in order for this admin to be able to access other resources and everything that we are going to create, we need to assign this role to our user. So for example, now let's go back here. As you remember, we created the new model, which is called the post, which is this one. So you can see this is our post model. Here we can be able to create those. This one for mass assignment, so you need to add this fillable property, and this is just the relationship between the post model and the user's model. So this is just a one-to-many relationship, because one user can have more than one post. So this is just for testing. So let me just go back here, and we've already migrated that table. So now you can see we have the post table right here. You can see it has title, content, and user ID. All right, so now let's go and generate the resource for post and for user. So let's run this command from PHP @ make filament resource, and here you are going to mention the name of your model. So we'll start with the user model, and we are going to generate, in order for it to generate the forms and the views for us, and also we are going to give it the view to generate the view page. Okay, and then let's generate it for post. Okay, no, this is wrong. This is not the capital letter right here. So what we are going to do, let me just remove this one, because this one is not right. So let me just delete that one. Okay, and then I'll do it again. This should be small letter, like that way, because that is the name of our model, which is post. Okay, so now let's generate it. Okay, so this says already we have this one. Okay, so let's remove this one again. Yep, so now let's run again the command. Yep, so you can see this has been done successful. Okay, so now you can see we have the post and the user resources. So now let's go back to application and refresh, and now you can see these resources has been created. So now what I want to do next is to create another user, and then I'm not going to give him the permissions to access other resources. So for now, if you can see here, these resources has been added automatically here, and as you can see here, super admin can be able to access them automatically. So we need to assign these to our users. So for example, here you can see this is our super admin, and then when we go to the edit form, here we are supposed to add the edit or the select field for selecting the rows. So if you go back here to the documentation, here you can use this one. Without using tenants, you can use this one, which will be the select field with the relationship to the rows table, and then the user can be able to select multiple rows to assign to the single user. So let's copy that field, and then let's go to here and go to the user resource. Here in form, after password, I'm going to paste that field right here. And then now if we go back here and refresh, now you can see we have this field which is called roles. So now you can see we have only the super admin role. Okay, now let's save it. Okay, so this for the password, let me just write the password that I am using. Okay, now you can see it has been saved. So now let's go back here, and you can see it has logged out as successfully. So let's sign it again, and now you can see the user can be able to see all of these resources. So now let's go and create another user. So let's say test user, and I'm going to say test@example.com. Let's give the password and do not select any role. So let's create that user. Okay, now you can see we have that user. So now let's go and log in as that user. So let's come here. Let me just copy this link. Okay, so here let's log in as test@example.com. Password. Okay, and here you can see also this user has been able to see all of these resources. So what we are going to do next, we are going to generate the policies for two resources, which is post and users. So after doing that, the shield will handle the issue of accessing these resources. So it will judge based on these roles that you have assigned here. So you can see now we did not assign these roles to our super admin or either to this test user, but still they can be able to access these resources. So to do so, let's go to the application and let's go to the terminal, and here is when you are going to use this command. So there is this command that I was showing you here. We are going to generate the permission and policies by using this command, which is shield generate. So let's run that command, php @sun, then shield generate, and then the options we are going to say for all, because we want to generate for all the resources that we have, because we only have these two resources. So if you want to specify for each resource, you can just say resource. You can say resource, and then you can give the name of your resource. Let's say post resource. Okay, and this will work just fine. But because we want to generate for all, so we are going to give this flag of all. Okay, so in which panel do you want to do that? We are going to say 0, because that is for the admin. Okay, so now you can see this was the resource, and the policy has been created, the permissions concerning this policy. So you can see the role, the user, and that's how we don't have any page or any widget. So now let me clear again. And now if we go back to application and refresh, now you can see the superadmin, you can see this has been added automatically, as you can see. Let's go back to the user. Now you can see the user cannot be able to access those resources. So you can see here the sidebar has been changed, and you can see this is our test user, but this one was our superadmin, so that's why you can see these roles has been assigned automatically. Okay, so now if we try to deselect this and save, you see we have deselected for post, and now if you refresh, you can see the post has been gone here. So that's how easy you can just manage the role-based accessibility of your resources in your FilamentPHP application. So now let's select again, and then let's add it and refresh. Now you can see we can be able to go to the post, and you can be able to create the post. For example, we can just say post example, the content, you can just say blah blah. Okay, and the user ID here, you can be able to change it, and for now let's say I can just say 1 and then create, and now you can see it has been created, but we need to change this one to be select, so that user can select the user with the human readable form. So you can see this is user, so let's change it to user name so that it can be selectable from. Okay, so here I believe we can just use the select field. So use the select field, and the relationship, we can just use the user relationship. If you remember, we added that relationship from here, which is this one. Okay, so that's why I'm using it here. You can see this is a relationship, and this is the title attribute that we are going to fetch from the user relationship. So now if we go back to the form, okay, so here we have an error. So let me just show you how to fix this one, because you can see we have the numeric function which is not allowed. So here you see this is the select field, it cannot be the numeric field at all. So let's just remove that one, and then let's keep it that way, and then let's go back and refresh. Now you can see we have the option to select the users. Okay, so now here you can just be able to add the searchable, so that the user can be able to search for the users. So for example, here you can search for admin, and you can see the option for superadmin will come right here. But you can see by default, if you refresh again, you cannot see any list of user. So to resolve that issue, you are going to use the preload function. So this function will preload the values from the relationship, and it will be available for you to use. So for example, if you refresh, now you can see the list of users will be preloaded, and then you can also be able to search. So now that's how easy you can do that stuff. So now you can see we have the list here. You can change this one in your table. So let's go to the table, and here you can change that one. For example, let's remove the numeric one, and here you can change this one to name, user.name, because this will be within our relationship, which is called the user relationship. Then we are going to access the name. So refresh, and now you can see that is the name of the user that created this post. Okay, so now what I'm trying to explain here is how you are going to manage these resources by using these roles and permissions. So for example, you can see now the superadmin can be able to perform any functionality, can create a new user as we have seen, can edit them, and we don't have the delete action, but you can add them here if you want. Okay, on post the same way, the superadmin can edit, can view, can search. Here you can see they can perform different functionalities to your to your resources. But for example, let's say we want to block the admin from being able to create a new post. We can do that by going here and go to the admin role, okay? And here on the post model, we are going to remove the create permission. So remove that permission, and then let's save it. And now if we go back to the post, you can see the button for creating new post has been gone. Now the admin cannot be able to create a new post, but can be able to edit and delete. Okay, so now let's go back to our user, which is this one, our test user. If you refresh, you can see still the user cannot be able to access those other resources. So to do so, the admin can be able to create a new role. So create a new role here, and we are going to say, let's say this will be just an author. Okay, so the author by default, when you will be able to log in into our system, we want him to be able to perform all the functionality concerning with the post and not concerning with the roles. So let's just create that one. You can see the role has been created, and here you can see these are the permissions that this role have, and this one has the permission that you can see the count from there. Okay, so now if we go back here and refresh, still you cannot see that functionality work as we were expecting. Why? Because we have just created this role, but we have not assigned it to the user. So let's go to the users list, and here let's go to the edit. Okay, and here you can see no any role has been selected. So now we can be able to select between these two roles. So let's create let's edit our user by adding the author role. So here let's give it the password, because this one is required, but we can just change it from being required to not required. So let's remove this one and keep it that way, and then refresh again here. Okay, now let's add the author role and save, and this password will give us an error. So let's just add some password here, just to repeat the password that you used to create this user, and then save. Now you can see the role has been assigned to our user, which is test user. So now if we go back here and try to refresh our page, and it has signed out to us, so let's sign in again. Now you can see we have access to this post resource. So now if we can go here, you can see we have this post. You can see this was created by admin, so we can be able to edit and do everything as we planned. Okay, so now as you can see here, we can be able to create a new post, but the admin cannot be able to create a new post as we have seen before. So here what we are doing, the author can be able to perform all of these actions, but the admin can not. Okay, so now here let's say for example this user will create a test post, for example like that way. Let's select the user and create. Now you can see that is the post that has been created by the test user. Okay, so now what we are going to do next, I want to perform another thing. If you go back here, you can see when you are selecting a user, for example from here, when you are creating a new post, you may not want the user to see the options. So we want just the user that has been logged in to be shown here as the default user, because we don't want this user to be able to change this field. So what we are going to do, you can just go to the post resource on your form here. You can just say default, and then you can say the authenticated user. So you can use this or you can just use the helper function, which is called the auth. So use that auth and the user then access the ID. Okay, so now if you go back here and refresh, you can see the user will be automatically selected, but you still can be able to change those fields. So you can just manipulate it the way you want or the way that you feel it fits you. So up to here, I believe this will be helpful for you as a Filament developer. This is easy to manage the roles, so you can create as many as resources, widgets, and other things that you want. You can create the custom pages, but all of them will be manageable by using this amazing plugin. So I would like to give the credit to Bezan because he has created this plugin, which is very helpful. So you can see we can be able to create a custom page. So for example, if we want to create a custom page in our FilamentPHP, so we can just say PHP @ make filament page, and then the name of our page we can just call it some custom page. So I'll not create it in any resource, so let me just clear the terminal, and you can see that page will be created here, which is this one. Okay, so now this page will not be accessible by any of this user. Okay, so you can see they can be able to access it because we didn't generate the policy for it. So to do, in order for our user to be able to manage it in our by using the package, as you can see here in rows, the page has been added here. So you can see this page is available right here. So in order for this page to be manageable by using our package, let me just show you. We can just be able to generate again the resource for that. So let's say page and generate the custom page. Okay, for admin. Yeah, so this has been done. So now let's go back and try to refresh. Still this page has been accessible. So now let's go back here. So let's say yes, admin can be able to access it. And also the user can be able to access it. So now if we go back here and refresh, you can see the page is accessible. So that's how easy you can just manage the roles and permission for your FilamentPHP application. And I believe this is useful for you to start doing this role-based access implementation in your FilamentPHP application. So if you find this video helpful, please share and like it. And if you are new to the channel, consider to subscribe and share it with your friends. So that's the way that you are supporting me. So thank you and see you on the next video.